Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So, a Florida woman was arrested for allegedly threatening an employee of the health insurance company Blue Cross Blue Shield. This was 42-year-old Brianna Boston. She is said to have been on a recorded call with her insurance company. They told Boston that her procedure or something had been denied. And at the end of the call, Boston allegedly told the insurance company employee, quote, "Deny, delay, depose. You people are next." So I don't know if that really qualifies as a threat, but as I'm sure you guys all know, those words were the words used by the alleged shooter of the UnitedHealthcare CEO. He wrote those words allegedly on the bullet casings. So the police went to Boston's home. They interviewed her. She admitted to making a threat. Boston apologized. She said she doesn't own a gun. She isn't a danger to anyone. But she told the police, quote, "Healthcare companies played games and deserved karma from the world because they are evil." I mean, show me the lie, right? So anyway, Boston has been arrested. She's been charged with issuing threats of to conduct a mass shooting or act of terrorism. Not sure how they're going to make that stick because she didn't specifically say that she was going to harm anyone. That is necessary when you're arresting someone for threats, that it has to be very specific. You have to say, "I am going to do XYZ to you," or something very similar. And it's clear a large number of Americans agree with her. There were wanted posters that started showing up in New York City. So they show the faces of names of Wall Street and health insurance company executives. And these posters said, quote, "Healthcare CEOs should not feel safe." And signs are also popping up around the country showing how disgusted people are with this greedy, callous system that we have, the behavior of our corporate oligarchs, and it shows an alignment with Thompson's alleged shooter. So check this out.
Outside of Seattle, a skeleton was seen holding a sign that said, "Sorry, Brian, you are out of network." And near Baltimore, the words "deny, defend, and depose" hung above an overpass, echoing the words written on the bullets that were used to shoot Thompson. In Seattle, street art depicted the video game character Luigi carrying a backpack with the United Health logo crossed off. In New York City, just steps away from where Thompson was killed, a Free Luigi sign hung on a post.
And investors are now losing faith in these companies. So according to NBC News, United Health, Cigna, and CVS Health stocks were all down by at least 6%. And then other companies also took a hit after Thompson's murder. United Health lost a reported $30 billion in value in the week after the shooting. Womp womp and thoughts and prayers. But the elites still don't get it, or at least they're pretending not to get it because, if they actually got it, if they actually understood what all of the rage is about, they would have to change their ways. And we know they don't want to do that. So here's what they are choosing to ignore and why Americans have been pushed to the breaking point. According to a recent study, this was performed by the American Medical Association, Americans, more than other countries, spend far more time ill and living with disease. So on average, the American Medical Association says that Americans live with disease for 12.4 years of their life. That is 29% longer than the average disease period throughout the rest of the world. So that includes like third world countries where they don't even have health care, right? Or it's like somebody with a feather chanting over you. I mean, that's pathetic. And think of how long that is. That is a very big percentage of someone's lifespan spent in physical and or emotional pain. And even with all of our medical advancements, this has gotten worse. It's not getting better because the AMA said In the year 2000, Americans spent an average of 10.9 years with some sort of disease. So 24 years later, right? And how much of our tax dollars are given to pharmaceutical companies so that they can do drug research? We fund that, in case you didn't know. We fund a large portion of that. And we're living longer in a state of disease. And it's even worse for women than it is for men. They found that the average American woman spends 13.7 years living with disease. That is 32% longer than the average woman on the planet. Again, including places where they have no access to drugs and medical treatment and surgeries. This reminds me of a saying. There was this doctor, I don't remember who it was, but there was this doctor that once said, people aren't living longer, they're dying longer. Clearly, the drugs and the treatments that the traditional medical establishment is pushing, they're not the answer. They're not working. If they were, we would be seeing improvements in health. And here's what we know for sure. A lot of this has to do with economics. It has to do with your economic status. It absolutely plays a role in health and longevity. So, this is just such a much bigger issue. The Lancet Medical Journal, they just released their findings about health and longevity. And one of the study's authors is a man named Ali Mokdad, I believe is how you pronounce it. He said, quote, "It's not an issue of health only. It's an issue, it's an income issue. It's an economic development issue. We need to stop dealing with health as a piecemeal problem." He also said, quote, "Universal health care is very important. We're the only rich country that doesn't have universal health care. And we need to pay attention to preventable risk factors: obesity, physical inactivity, diet, smoking, alcohol." Mokdad, though, said it's easier said than done based on where you live and what you have access to, and not just regarding food, but also education and medical facilities. Some people are so far away from medical facilities and doctors, they can't get care. Some people don't have any education to teach them what they should and shouldn't be eating, or whether or not, how they're living their lives is going to affect them. And the authors of the study concluded, quote, "In a country with the wealth and resources of the USA, it is intolerable that so many are living in conditions and with health outcomes akin to those of an entirely different country. It is time for us to take collective action to invest in equitable health care, education, and employment opportunities, and to challenge the systemic barriers that create and perpetuate these disparities." And in fact, they found some Americans live as much as 20 years longer on average than other groups of Americans. Again, because of where they live, because of their access to healthcare, because of their access to insurance, their financial situation. Yes, your ethnicity, your gender, your race, those things play a factor, but it is so much bigger than that. So yes, this is a health insurance issue, but this is much deeper, much broader. People, by the way, and this is proven, people who make more money live longer. That is a simple fact. It is based on many, many studies. Even prior to and after the COVID-19 pandemic, study after study shows that the wealthy live a decade or longer more than the lowest income earners. So if you are in the top percentile, you are going to live on average 10, 12 years longer than somebody in the lowest percentile of earners. There was a couple months back, the Washington Post, they published a story about how red state policies are leading to early deaths. So it says in there, quote, state lawmakers gained autonomy over how to spend federal safety net dollars following Republican President Ronald Reagan's push to empower the states in the 1980s. Those investments began to diverge sharply along red and blue lines, with conservative lawmakers often balking at public health initiatives they said cost too much or overstepped. Today, people in the South and Midwest regions, largely controlled by Republican state legislators, have increasingly higher chances of dying prematurely compared with those in the more democratic Northeast and West. So there's that factor. There's lawmakers who do not want to help people in their states. And then buried in the article is this fact about 3 different areas that surround Lake Erie. So that's in the northeast of America, where residents are dying prematurely from treatable, often reversible diseases. So they wrote that all of these 3 areas, quote, have struggled economically in recent decades as industrial jobs withered, conditions that contribute toward rising midlife mortality, research shows. So these 3 areas have seen an increase in deaths among people aged 35 to 64. These are people in the prime of their life in many cases. I shouldn't have to say this, but to the greedy, selfish, rich assholes in the back, where you live and how much money you make or have should not determine whether you live or die, or whether your child lives or dies. Again, shouldn't have to say it, right? And yet, check this out. Look at this map. So for those on the podcast, this is a life expectancy map. It shows where the majority of early deaths are. And these are concentrated deaths for that 35 to 64 age range that I mentioned. The vast majority are in the most economically challenged areas of the U.S. So the mid and southeast, and mid-east, middle of the country, and mostly the southeast. And no, again, this does not have to do with COVID and vaccine rates, because these deaths were compiled, or the rates were compiled between 2015 and 2019. So this was before the pandemic hit. Now, you might say, well, Gina, all of those areas, all of these people, by and large, they voted for Republicans. They voted for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump and the Republicans don't even want free health care for everyone. They don't want to help people. I get that. Totally valid, totally legitimate point to make. Here's the thing, though. The Republican Party and Donald Trump were the ones who were talking about blowing up the system, blowing up the status quo. I know, you all know, they don't have a plan. They don't have any plan to make anything better for the American people, right? But the Democrats, with a few exceptions of progressives, they keep telling everyone everything's great. System just needs a little bit of tweaking around the edges. You should all be grateful for what we have. And yeah, if you're doing better than the average American, you probably agree with that, right? And there's a lot of older Americans, a lot of people in the boomer generation who didn't have the income disparity that we have now. So you're probably doing okay. You were probably able to save for your retirement and you're feeling okay, right? You have a house, you earned wealth that way, a lot of you. And that is one of the number one ways to earn wealth in this country, which is not available to people today in many cases because of the wealth disparity, because of the income disparity, because prices have soared and wages have not kept up. So there are a hell of a lot of people in this country who are watching their young family members die simply because they don't have the money to save them. Sometimes it's their own child. So, yeah, they're angry. They are furious. They are livid, right? And I don't hear many lawmakers, I don't hear many TV hosts out there talking about those people's deaths or the family that they've left behind as they've now been virtue signaling about Brian Thompson. So again, I get it. Feel bad for the guy, feel bad for his family. But where is the outrage? Where is the pearl clutching? Where is the people falling on their fainting couches about all of these people who are dying prematurely simply because our system is set up in a way to take care of the wealthy, to provide everything to people with money, and no compassion, no assistance for those at the bottom. So anyway, I will keep you all posted on all of this. I'll let you know if I hear any more, and different details like this that I think you all should be aware of. So thank you all so much for watching and listening. Again, mention this in other videos. If you are watching on the platform with the initials TT, I am not going to be there after this month, after December of 2024. You will be able to find my videos over on the other platform with the initials YT. And so you can search for Raw News and Politics over there. If you like this content, if you want to keep following me, would really appreciate it if you move over there. Anyway, thank you all so much again for watching and listening. Please please share this video so other people know exactly what's going down, why we're in the state that we are, why there's so much upheaval in our country right now. Subscribe if you have not on YouTube. And please, if you can donate to the show, truly means the world to me, helps to keep the show going. Love you all so much. Take care. Talk with you soon.